Angela, this is a topic, it's a hot topic, the redevelopment of the Ninth Ward. And I think, from my perspective, I think what makes this such a hot topic is because people tend to look at the Ninth Ward as the measuring stick to determine whether or not New Orleans is successfully all the way back recovered since Hurricane Katrina. And for whatever reason, the Ninth Ward is probably one of the neighborhoods that is the least redeveloped. That they suffered the most, and they are the least redeveloped. So, and there's been a lot of a lot of dialogue about this subject, and I'm very excited to have the president of the architect firm that has been working with the residents and the community and various city agencies to redevelop this. But start, Angela, by letting us know first where you're from and what is your connection to the Ninth Ward.
Okay, wow, that's a big question, Samantha. I hope we have enough time to fully flesh it out. I came to New Orleans as a little girl when I was 5 years old. A lot of folks, I think, don't know that I'm Hispanic. I was born in South America. So when we came to New Orleans, we actually first lived in Broadmoor in a rental apartment on the corner of Napoleon and Galvez. So spent 5 years there. And at this point have lived in many of the neighborhoods in Orleans Parish. So I've lived in New Orleans East. I've lived in Algiers. Right now I'm living in Mid-City. So I feel like I know the city. And, of course, through my work as an architect, I've had the honor of touching virtually every neighborhood. So, which brings me to the Lower Ninth Ward. Even before Hurricane Katrina, my company was very involved in the Lower Ninth Ward. We were doing work actually pro bono for a nonprofit, and the thing that we did, we finished it like the week before Hurricane Katrina, just unbelievably and coincidentally. It was a survey of every building on 40 blocks in the Upper and Lower Ninth Ward, all the way to the parish line, on St. Claude Avenue. We took photographs. I had 3 students working on it, and I paid them a salary and donated their time and their work to really look at every single facade and do a cost estimate of what it would cost to fix it, to create some sort of a main street or some kind of try to find funding from different funders around the country. And so the executive director of New Corp, which is Vaughn Foria, approached me and said, "Can you help us with this?" And at first I think, she was struggling to find funding for that survey, and I said, "We'll just do it, Vaughn, and we'll donate it." And she was delighted. And so that was one thing we did. And then right now we're the architects on the Sanchez Community Center that's under construction at the corner of Caffin and Claiborne. Long time coming, but finally happening. Super excited about that building. It's going to be beautiful. And then another thing that we worked on both before and after Hurricane Katrina was a park, a linear park that the Army Corps of Engineers hired my company to design, and that was actually paid work, along a linear park along the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal in the Upper and Lower Ninth Wards. Won design awards. It really is a gorgeous park, but then the Corps obviously got very distracted with levee rebuilding and all that stuff. So that's kind of gone on the back burner, but I hope that it can come back one day. And so, and then last but not least, the McDonough 3 monument. We've been donating our time pro bono to get that monument built in honor of the 3 little girls that integrated public schools in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There seems to be, like I mentioned previously, there's a lot of dialogue on this topic. What do you say to people who may not have information? They may have heard about it, but they're not really 100% sure on all of the plans that your company has for the Ninth Ward, or people who may not be in agreement for redeveloping the neighborhood. What do you have to say? I mean, what are your plans? Kind of recap.
Okay, well, the next project that we're focused on right now is the Holy Cross High School redevelopment, and we hope to do many more projects in around the Lower Ninth Ward. So this project would be, right now as planned, is a mixed-use complex on approximately 13 acres that are vacant, except for one building, a historic building. And we're not displacing anyone. We are restoring the historic building. We're not tearing down any historic architecture. And we think it's the right location to do what we're proposing, which is, again, mixed use, which means residential, apartment buildings and condominium buildings, and
for sale as well as rent.
Correct, for sale and rental. And small amount of retail. We're not on a big avenue like St. Claude, so it'll be more like neighborhood-oriented retail.
Like nail salons,
Small, exactly.
karate
Small
store,
shops.
karate shop,
The
karate
academy,
lessons.
Yeah.
I don't think,
Possibly, we are talking to a chef about maybe doing, getting a small cooking school in there. So, and then talking to a couple of nonprofits about doing a business incubator, and then that would be in the office, the existing historic building, which would be an office building, and then, like I said, residential and retail.
That
and
sounds positive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've driven through there recently, and there are homes and sitting right next door to empty vacant lots, which I'm sure it's got to be taxing on the homeowners. Having to upkeep property that's not theirs, but what is your alternative? Let it just go to the wayside? You want your neighborhood to look a certain way. You don't want overgrown lots. I don't know, it sounds like a positive thing. And I think we have State Representative Wesley Bishop on the line. Hello, Wesley Bishop. How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to call into the show. We're talking about the Lower Ninth Ward, Wesley, and there's been a lot of dialogue right now. It's a hot topic, the redevelopment of the Lower Ninth Ward and reviving the Lower Ninth Ward. And you recently have been getting some press for the bill that you had trying to get passed to sell the lots for $100. Can you tell us, your connection to the Lower Ninth Ward, Wesley, and why you're trying to get this bill passed?
Sure. Well, as you know, I represent the Lower Ninth Ward, but I also grew up in the Lower Ninth Ward, and we filed something this session called the Lower Ninth Ward Redevelopment Act. It's actually a package of bills, two bills that will do a couple of different things. One will allow for property in the Lower Ninth Ward to be sold for beyond its fair market value, and secondly, to fix that price in at $100 per lot. What the goal is, we're trying to repopulate the Lower Ninth Ward, and the way in which we hope to do that is to allow individuals who currently live in the Lower Ninth Ward, similar to how the Road Home or the Lot Next Door program currently does, allows individuals to buy a piece of property that they're adjacent to. Then they agree to fence in that property, provide shrubbery around that property, and to actually keep it up. But secondly, to attract individuals who don't have any connection to the Lower Ninth Ward, who will also be willing to purchase this property for that same $100. And we then allow those individuals to build and reside and to stay in the Lower Ninth Ward. So hoping that if we're successful, we can get more people to relocate to the Lower Ninth Ward.
Yeah, repopulate the neighborhood. Wesley, why do you think, you grew up in the Ninth Ward, you said, so, I mean, why do you think the Lower Ninth Ward has experienced one of the slowest rates of recovery following Hurricane Katrina, of the other neighborhoods? From your perspective?
A couple of reasons. Number one, you have many basic goods and services just aren't there. There are no banks in the Lower Ninth Ward. There is no grocery store in the Lower Ninth Ward. And so some basic things that folks have in other parts of the city you just don't see in the Lower Ninth Ward. So I think that makes it difficult. Secondly, the Lower Ninth Ward has the largest concentration of homeowners than any other neighborhood in the entire city. Many of those homeowners were older individuals, so when they chose not to come back, you have a larger concentration of vacant houses that just weren't available. So I think that's part of the reason why you see that. And so it's necessary to do something extraordinary because we have an extraordinary situation in the Lower Ninth Ward.
This next question I'd like to address to Miss Angela here. You talked about your plans for Perez Architects, the plans for the Lower Ninth Ward. How do you see? Let me see how I can word this. I want your working relationship. I guess describe your working relationship with some of the city agencies in developing this or redeveloping it.
Sure. The two that we have interacted with the most, just because every developer interacts with these two agencies, are the Historic District Landmarks Commission and the City Planning Commission. And so we've met extensively with the staffs at both agencies and responded to their comments and tweaked and developed the plans over almost 18 months now. So we've really spent quite a bit of time with them doing what they instruct. I mean, they give their their best advice, and we follow it, and then we come before the commissions for a vote.
So there's been a lot of dialogue with these. You're working with the neighborhood agencies or in the city agencies.
Correct. And then part of that, both the process of both departments is public hearings, right? So we do informal meetings in the neighborhood, and then more formal ones, and then later there's the public hearings at city council chambers. So that's kind of the process.
Okay. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come right back. You're listening to the Community Bulletin Board on WBOK 1230 AM. We'll be back in just 1 second. You know, why do you want to develop there? Why there? I mean, there are hundreds of neighborhoods in this city. I mean, literally, we have many, many neighborhoods. Why the Lower Ninth Ward? Why do you want to develop there?
Yeah, great question, Samantha. I mean, you're right. My company could go anywhere and make an investment. So why did we pick Holy Cross High School in the Lower Ninth Ward? With all due respect to all my friends that live in the other neighborhoods, which I know and love and have lived in, I think the Lower Ninth Ward is the best neighborhood in New Orleans right now. And I know you're looking at me quizzically now, like, why does she think that? I'll tell you why. It has all the natural assets of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city, yet it's still very affordable. So what are the assets? Beautiful historic architecture, high ground. Half of the Lower Ninth Ward is above sea level, and a lot of folks, I think, don't realize that.
No.
It's got the river. You can walk up to the levee and see the river. And if you're tall enough, you can see, from your apartment, which we hope to build.
Nice river views.
Beautiful river views, just fantastic views from there. And then it's got Bayou Bienvenue. It's got water on three sides. I mean, it really is a phenomenal neighborhood with natural assets. Both sides of the Lower Ninth Ward, meaning the Bywater and St. Bernard Parish, are booming. I think it's just a matter of time, and people just haven't figured it out. And like Representative Bishop said, I think what really hurt was the fact that the elderly had a very hard time coming back. Yeah. And my parents are a great example. They were in their 80s when Katrina hit, and if it hadn't been for my sister and I putting their house back, which didn't even flood but had a lot of roof damage and got wet and moldy, it's very tough when you're elderly, and since then my dad's passed away. So that happened to a lot of the population of the Lower Ninth Ward. I think folks passed away, and or they were too old and sick or didn't have the resources. So it's a jewel.
So you think it's a gem? It's a gold mine. In the future,
a jewel waiting to be discovered.
So this could I talked about this on a previous show. Someone shared a story with me, like back in 1975, they had an opportunity to buy a property in the warehouse district for dirt cheap, rock bottom prices. And can you imagine if they had done that and today still own that? I mean, you could be, renting that out. I mean, the warehouse district is, it's great. I mean, and I think, and what you're saying, it sounds like is one day, the Ninth Ward has a potential to be that sort of neighborhood.
Well, great example. Funny you should mention. Perez was the first company to go into the warehouse district. Wow. Back when it was nothing but drug dealers and prostitution and, longshoremen and some of the...
People are like, why would you want to have any property to invest in that area? And look at the warehouse district today. It's one of the hottest parts of town.
So Mr. Perez, who was the son of the founder of the firm, he decided he was going to put his office in the warehouse district, and everybody thought he was crazy. And then look at it. Within 10 years, it completely turned around.
So I'm going to have to buy me a property in the Lower Ninth Ward for $100.
I'm telling you, now's the time.
Because now is the time. You're absolutely right. Because one day, this is going to be prime real estate. And like we mentioned on this show last week, I had a real estate agent, Nichelle Thompson, on, they're not, God's not giving us any more land here in New Orleans. We have to work with what we have.
The last but not least, I forgot to mention, it's very close to downtown, so if you have a job, it's a short commute, and much shorter than St. Tammany or even St. Bernard Parish. It's a great community to live in right now.
I think it's going to thrive. I mean, I look at other neighboring communities, Bywater, which is booming. Lots of great restaurants and quality of life, and it's got that historic, eclectic New Orleans feel to it. And there's a lot of history in the Ninth Ward, so I think that's very encouraging. I think sometimes people are intimidated by change, but I always say that change breeds opportunity, and who does not want an opportunity?